Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 136 of Two Amazon Sellers and a Microphone, brought to you by Solozo. Today, Chris and I are excited. We've got Edward Ruffin from Seller Labs on with us, and we're going to be talking all kinds of stuff. We know we like to just chat and go through it, but we're going to also talk about how to take advantage of the full funnel when advertising on Amazon. So we're curious. We're curious about the full funnel. Edward, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me, guys. I am always down to nerd out about Amazon and PPC. I do this outside of 9 to 5 as well. I've lost a few friends because I'm just a little too nerdy when it comes to talking about PPC and advertising. So I'm glad to be here, guys.
Well, you're in good company.
So awesome. Perfect.
We can talk about that a time. Well, before we jump into all that, for anybody who's listening who doesn't know you, doesn't know Seller Labs, just talk about how you personally got into the space, what made you like PPC advertising so much, and what you're doing right now with Seller Labs.
Yeah, so awesome. Okay, cool. So I have always been intrigued by advertising since I was a kid. I'm not the biggest sports fan. I would actually just watch the Super Bowl to watch the ads because they were very intriguing. And I was very curious about how they were marketing certain products to certain demographics, even as a kid. But I never thought too much of it. Had a background in working on computers, full nerd here, got to say that. Had a background in selling computers for a while. And I kind of got tired of the whole retail side of things. And then I heard about Seller Labs over 5 years ago and just took a plunge and started working there. And started off just working with, the software side of Seller Labs, doing support for the software. And then we developed a new tool for advertising. And I was actually one of the ones to help with the beta testing for it, to see what people thought of the tool, how they liked it, how we can make it better. And so full transparency, at that time, I did not know much about all the advertising, ins and outs. So I had to kind of just learn on the fly and break a lot of things while doing it. And while I was doing that, talking with people, lots of sellers, they kept on just asking, hey, can you just do this for me? And for a while, I kept on saying, well, no, that's a liability. We don't want to have that on our hands. Don't want anything to happen, bad to your account or anything. But then it happened more and more to where we actually did decide to develop a managed services team at Seller Labs. And that was a few years ago, and I'm one of the co-founders for that. And now we have a pretty large team. We actually do specialize in PPC management for Amazon. We also do some Facebook advertising, DSP as well. We've kind of dabbled in Walmart as well too. Google is on the way as well. And we have a great team. We also do other extra services like listing optimizations, A+ content generation, storefront build out, pretty much anything we can do to help Amazon sellers succeed. Because nowadays you can't just advertise. You have to have everything else set up to complement the advertising. So been doing that for just over 5 years now. And it's always changing. I think that's why I like it so much. You can learn everything about Amazon and think you're good to go. Then they roll out 4 half-baked ideas. I hate to say it like that, but they roll out some new update that doesn't work that well. Then they pull it back. You have to learn it all over again. But that's why I love it, and that's why I'm still doing it today.
It's pretty common. We get the same thing as like we just need managed service, and it feels like, and Dustin and I are sellers too, so it feels like sellers just are really good with sourcing. They want to do the product research, but everything else, I don't want to touch. Like I don't want to play with
Right.
PPC. So you guys get the same. You guys get the same kind of feedback, or people just want somebody to handle their PPC so they could do all the other stuff they're good at.
Right. It's mind-boggling when we have like even just small sellers on Amazon come to us, and I just ask them like, so you've been doing all your PPC by yourself, and you've been running your business, and you've been sourcing new products, and you've been worrying about like the shipping cost that's been happening recently. You've been doing all this yourself, and they're like, yeah, I'm really tired.
Yeah.
Like I'm exhausted. And I'm like, well, let's help you out. And it's like, it's always a collaborative effort. The way we approach everything is to help people succeed. We're not just in it just to do the job. We are more about seeing them grow. We want to see them grow while they're working with us. And we have this really good basis of just honesty and transparency. Where like, if we see something with your account that's just bad, we're going to be honest with you. We're going to be nice about it. We're not going to be rude. I'm not going to call you names or anything. We're going to say, hey, like your listings are pretty terrible. Like our PPC is not going to convert because your listings are just not built out right. Here's some recommendations. Also, we can enhance them for you and get them better for you if you want us to, but here's some ideas. So it's very much, we want to take some of that weight off of the sellers so they have time to do other things that they want to do.
We see
we do the
that
same thing. Like
all
when
the time.
when people come in to book, I like that we're doing, like, I like that we're all on the same page here. Like, the listing is everything. Like, you have to have a good listing. You can throw as much money as you want at a bad listing and it's not going to convert. I was talking to another seller the other day, and she was running ads on a product, and she had like 95 clicks got to the page, and she had 2 sales. Ooh. And I didn't even look at the listing. I could tell the listing was bad just because you got that many clicks and no sales. So I told her, I said, I kind of wanted her to figure it out. Like, you've got 95 clicks, okay, and you've got only 2 sales. What's that tell you? She's like, well, I'm getting clicks, but no one's buying. I'm like, okay, so why do you think that's the case? Maybe because I need to get better images. Like, okay. So kind of like pushing you along. So like, that's the thing. I think sometimes we have our blinders on as sellers, and we just think, I got to do advertising. I'll figure out the listing later. But it's actually the reverse. Wouldn't you agree?
Right, 100%. I've had many cases where we have people come to us that are guns blazing. They're like, I'm willing to spend thousands of dollars on advertising. And their listing has like no bullet points.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, hey, you're a great person. I appreciate you. You seem like a nice guy. Let's get down to brass tacks. I want to help you out, but I don't even want to run ads to your listing before it's built out. Like, you have to have that built out, especially back-end keywords too, so they can index for things. And we have to have those honest conversations a lot, but I think it's very helpful. Like, once again, we're not just trying to make someone feel bad or make them like feel like their brand's not good or anything, but it's about that brand presence. Like, you wouldn't pay thousands of dollars for a billboard for a restaurant that hasn't even been finished yet. Like, what's the point? So like, you got to think about that. And it is also just, I like that Amazon is rolling in more creative aspects to the advertising. So then you can kind of say, hey, like, you can use this on your listing. You can take this video from your listing and put it into a sponsor brand video ad. Like, let's help out each other with your creative and what's going on inside the ad. So sometimes it is hard to get that point across, because people just really think, like you said, they can just pay and pay and pay, and that'll generate a lot of sales. But you never want to have all your sales coming from advertising either. You want to have that good balance of organic and paid traffic going through, so you're not just having to pay an arm and a leg to feel like you made some money. You want to actually see the profitability coming back afterwards, of course.
You bring up a good point about just Amazon's rolling out. They obviously roll out new ad products all the time, new places to advertise, new ways to advertise. And you've been doing this for a while now. You said like 5 years that you've been with them. How much has this whole area changed in those years?
It is mind-blowing. Mm-hmm. Like, really, back in the day when I first really got into it, sponsored product really ran everything. And you had the banner headline search ads, as they were called then. And now, like, there's so many different unique placements that you have to run numerous like ads to actually gain all the placement that you can on someone's listing, add to cart page, thank you for your purchase page, your keyword page, like everything. Like, there's just so many placements that it's hard to keep up with sometimes. And actually, even for our team, we have a meeting every Monday, just a team meeting of all of us to get together, see what's going on. But we always talk about updates from Amazon. And like, back in the day, there'd be like maybe an update every year. Now it's like every Monday we're like, okay, this is changing. This is changing. This is being rolled back. Okay, we're seeing this across some accounts. We're seeing this beta across other accounts. Keep an eye out, test some things. Let's find out if it works or not. So it's drastically changed over the past few years. But it's cool to see that Amazon has developed, because if you look at something like even Walmart's ad platform does resemble Amazon a few years ago. It's more antiquated, not as built out, not as much opportunity there yet, but it's coming. There's a lot coming down the pipeline there. But it's just cool to see Amazon kind of opening up the opportunity. Of course, Amazon does make money off of that. We can be honest about that. They are trying to get, a little more ad spend coming down the pipeline. But it also gives the sellers more options, where they're not just stuck with bidding on the same keywords for the same placement and seeing the CPC go up. Because when a new ad type rolls out, a lot of times the CPC is pretty low to begin with for a little while. So they can take advantage of that and gain that placement, and prove to Amazon that you convert for it and kind of maintain that placement. But yeah, over the years, I've learned a lot really fast. So you kind of have
it feels like those like last 18 months it's just been feature after feature after feature after feature.
Man.
And like, you know, you mentioned it years ago,
Yeah.
you would be lucky to get something a month, but now
Right.
it's everything.
Exactly. And it's pretty funny. We kind of make a joke, and I love Amazon, wonderful, but they do some wonky stuff sometimes. We feel like a lot of these new ad types, reports, things coming out, there's someone's like stiff goals or like end of year goals. So they kind of rush to put it out, and then it comes out and we're like, oh, this is cool, but like it doesn't really work.
What do we do with that?
And then like 2 months later they pull it back and then they push it back out and it's like fully fledged out and we're like, okay, cool, this is what they were trying to get to, this is what they wanted it to be. Okay, got it.
Yeah, they do move fast for sure. But with all that complexity, with all these new ad types, it makes it really difficult for someone who's, whether you're a small seller or even a large seller, you can't. It takes a full-time focus on advertising now to make it work, and that's why it's really important. I think it's all from my perspective. I mean, since being with Solozo and since the opportunity of talking with sellers all the time and seeing and working with our team and managing accounts, how much that helps me with my own business, just because you see what's working, what's not working, and you're on it. And that's an advantage. That's why I think it's important for people who are serious that they need to work with people who know what they're doing, experts in this space. And it's not just knowing what you're doing. It's adapting to the changes. Because I remember like when Chris and I started selling, you'd get on Helium 10, Jungle Scout, do a whole bunch of keyword research, take hundreds of relevant keywords, put them in a campaign. You know, that's your strategy. And then you're off and running, and then you adjust bids periodically. But I mean, with the way that Amazon's doing relevancy scores now, and I mean, you could have 1,000 keywords in a campaign and you're going to get impressions on 20 of them. Yes. You know, it's like, it just doesn't work anymore.
No, it has changed. Like, even I remember when I first started doing like presentations about PPC when I was a young lad a long time ago, a few years ago. I really could, like, you know, give someone a walk down, like down the path of like how they should manage their PPC on a weekly basis. Like, you know, put reminders in your calendar to do this task and this task and that task. But even like with our account coordinators who are actually inside the accounts working on them, I look at their lineup for the week and it's just so busy now, because there's also like these new budget checks, these new targeting reports that are coming out that you have to kind of monitor and make sure things aren't slipping through the cracks. It's not as simple as just like, yeah, just check your campaigns, you know, once or twice a week, make sure they're okay. Now it's like, okay, on this day, go through and do keyword negations. On this day, go through and do some transfers. On this day, do your bid adjustments. On this day, check your budgets over the past 7 days. Like, there's just a lot more that goes into it. And I really do give props to all the people, such as you guys, that can maintain that, because even for me, like, it's a full-time job just doing PPC, and we have a pretty big team, which makes it a little easier, but it's still like sometimes I'm like, man, I have to like restructure this account, launch these campaigns, do a keyword harvest, monitor them in the next 2 days, talk with the account coordinator. It's a lot going on at once, and it's mind-blowing where it
There's
is
a lot
today.
of tools that now, like people are launching tools coming out, and I think people talking more about PPC strategies because everybody's got a different strategy. You know, you could do certain things now with Amazon that rolls out, like top of search, blog page. Like, you can do certain things now, and everybody's got a different strategy. I think it's just gained a lot of popularity. Like, people are really curious and they want to make sure they're doing it right, but you can't really do it alone. It's kind of hard to keep up on it because everybody else has teams or they're using tools. And if you want to stay up on it, you got to have a team yourself, or you got to use a tool and, you know, be involved.
Yeah, I will say, like, I do appreciate the PPC community. That's like even like on Facebook, even just like on Instagram, where people are able to reach out to people that have been doing it for a while, just ask questions. And even on LinkedIn, I see lots of great content. Whereas back in the day, it was more just kind of everybody kind of trying something else someone else was doing and just kind of passing it on. Now it's like, oh, this is going to be unique for like every person, every category, every market. I have to learn what's best and ask questions about it, you know?
There's enough pie. There's enough pieces.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. On that note, I want to throw something at you and get your take on it, because this is something Chris and I get a lot. When somebody's brand new, okay, they're launching their first product or their second product, and they're coming at you, and they've done everything right. You know, they've got great images, they've got a few reviews, you know, it's all good. But the issue is they don't have an enormous advertising budget, and they want to get cranked up. And, you know, where do you focus that money? If you're talking to a brand new seller who comes to you and says, look, I can do like $15 a day, you know, something like that for my product, $20 a day. What you just can't go out there and do every single ad type.
Right. No, and I wish we could, man.
Yeah.
But man, the CPC is just skyrocketed. I'll be honest. What I do whenever someone is launching either a new product or they're just coming to us, I'll be honest. That sounds like a good person to work with, because they actually have reviews. That's the biggest thing. Is I really don't like advertising things with no reviews, even though sometimes we have to. But I digress. I do like focusing on the auto campaigns, and it's for multiple reasons. The first one, though, is if it's a new product, by driving traffic with auto targeting campaigns, you get an idea of what Amazon thinks your product is based on the search terms that are coming through. So it's kind of a way to vet your listing and make sure you are showing up for the type of terms that you do want to index for and actually gain traffic from. And if you see a lot of wonky terms coming through, you can go ahead and negate those, but then also go back to your listing and say, wow, okay, why am I showing up for this term? This makes no sense. It's not relevant. Why does Amazon think I should get traffic from this? So that's one reason. Another reason is our team itself, we do keyword research. Don't get me wrong. We do try to find strong keywords, but just like you said, it doesn't really work as well. Like back in the day, you could just cram in keywords and hope you get some traffic. Now we do lots of validation, where we use those auto campaigns to find out what terms not only are they indexing for, but what they're actually converting for. And then from there, we can actually harvest those to the manual campaign and get more control over that bid and the CPC for that particular target. And it gives us just more control and a cleaner, leaner way to run the ads, especially when they're on a tighter budget. And then that way kind of justifies itself, because then we can actually show them the return for that short period of time of where we're actually doubling down, getting a good return. And that can lead to a better ROAS and a better ACoS, which can then justify them to increase their budget over time because they've seen the return from what we've done with the budget so far. So I'm a huge auto guy, always have been. I love making Amazon work. That sounds so bad. I sound so negative about Amazon, but I promise I'm not. It's just like it's a kind of a love-hate. You have to work with them to get them to kind of show you what's going on. So I've had people where I launch an auto, and let's just say it's coffee, and they're showing up for like toilet seats, and I'm like, well, no, let's pause. Like let's get on a call and look at your listing, go through your backend, go through your keywords, your product description, or your title, and see what's going on. What category are you in? And that just allows us to get like the right type of traffic up front, so then we can double down on it once it is justified and has led to a good return for us.
Not only that, I mean, your auto campaign is going to show you what the customer is actually searching for, and everybody who's doing keyword research is going to get the same type of data. And so using that auto campaign, you're going to be able to actually see what people are needing, and then you could take those terms, add them to your title, do a manual, do bullets, add them to your bullets. So I'm with you. I think the auto is good because it does make Amazon work, and then it does validate the product listing, and you might be able to find different ways people are searching for a product than all the other tools out there are showing. So
yes,
I'm with you. Do you
especially
run the
long
auto campaign all the way? Are you running the auto campaign?
Yeah, so the auto campaign does give you unique placement too, like on the add to cart page and other placements that you can actually target with manual campaigns. So we do leave the auto running the whole time, but we are bidding heavier in the manual campaigns. We're getting the priority placement with the manual and more control over that CPC. But the auto just has so many unique placements that are just auto placed, no pun intended, across Amazon. And we want to make sure we're taking advantage of that and getting a good spread of placements, not just showing up just on the keyword result page on Amazon.
Yeah.
Something I want to run against, like this has always been, like, how do you prove this? I don't know how you prove this, but advertising and then also using rebates, because they're both kind of the same purpose. You're trying to improve your organic ranking with rebates as well, but you're also trying to do that with your PPC. I don't know the time frames. Like, I don't know how long it takes you to improve your organic ranking with running advertising, but I can definitely see it on the rebate side where you give away you do a few rebates for about 5-7 days, you can see your ranking really shoot up organically. What's the time frame? Like how soon are you able to see your ranking improve with advertising?
This is going to sound bad, but I think it's based off of how much you spend. Because one thing we're really in the business of is collecting data. And the more you can put in up front, the more data you can get in a shorter period of time. But also the quicker you can prove to Amazon that you deserve placement for these keywords because you convert consistently across the board. And that'll allow them to give you better ranking from PPC, but also that correlates to better ranking with organic over time as well. I've seen it where, like, when we have clients that have a pretty large budget and we're just kind of launching things, getting things going, doing a restructure, starting off kind of fresh, we can get it within a few weeks where we actually see the organic growing as well, because we are focusing on tacos for all of our clients too. We're not just looking at ACoS and ROAS. We're looking at that tacos percentage to see that go down as much as possible. And we keep in mind like the organic sales. So we're doing a report with our clients every 2 weeks just to keep that cadence going. Of course, we talk with them in between that time too, but we put that on each report to keep that in mind, to kind of keep that at the forefront of everybody's mind to say, okay, this is what it was last time. Here's what it is this time. We're seeing that go down. We're seeing that increase. We're seeing you getting more organic sales for these placements as well. So I hate to say you have to pay to play, but you kind of do. Someone like you were saying, like with a smaller budget, they're going to see it take a longer period of time to get that better placement. And I'm not saying you should do a shotgun approach. I'm not a huge fan of the shotgun approach where you just blast everything with really high bids and really high budgets, and you just kind of hope for the best without that much data. You do want to be very meticulous about that, but you want to train Amazon to keep on funneling that traffic to the keywords that are converting by doing those weekly bid optimizations to reward those targets that are beneath ACoS and actually leading to a good return. So if you're doing that, I've seen it happen in a couple weeks. We actually have one of our clients now that actually has been fluctuating with the bestseller badge for a particular keyword, and they got it, and it's been like a month for them. And it's just because we just really drilled down into it, got things cleaner. Beforehand, they were going after way too many targets and not seeing good return. We singled it out and got it a lot cleaner, and it led to a much better return. And it was proven with that bestseller badge right off the bat.
You bring up a point about tacos. I mean, for us, we're in this, we talk about PPC all day, every day. So, I mean, tacos is just such a term that we're aware of and we look at all the time. But for a lot of sellers, they're not calculating it. They don't know it. And the ACoS in your campaigns can be wildly misleading. I mean, you could have a high ACoS or it's above your profit margin. It's whatever. It's 60% ACoS. And that's all they're focused on. They're like, I got to get that down. I got to get that down. But they might be killing it. I mean, they might be having so many organic sales, and they might be in a situation where their tacos is so low, they could actually shoot for maybe a higher target PPC ACoS and generate more sales. And I think that gets lost. I think that concept of advertising, driving organic ranking, driving organic sales, maintaining your organic ranking, I think that gets lost on a lot of, especially like if you're a traditional retailer who's coming now to the Amazon space, they really just they don't understand that tacos metric. It's huge.
Yeah, they I have a lot of clients come to me and their ACoS is like 80%, and in my initial goals call, I'm like, hey, so what have you been aiming for? And they're like, well, I'd love to have 5%. And I'm like, well, that sounds wonderful, but here's the thing. By cutting your ACoS target down so low, you're going to delete most of your traffic. You're going to lose most of your velocity. You're going to lose most of your indexing for these top priority placements. So just like you said, Dustin, like, by having a higher ACoS, sometimes it can lead to showing Amazon quicker, I convert for these, give me that organic placement as well. And we'll even do this with a few of our clients. Like, if we have some clients that are very, very adamant about particular keywords that they want to index for very, very well, we'll actually segment those keywords out to their own campaign and run just that one campaign at a higher ACoS. So that way we can prove to Amazon quicker, we want that. We want to have this. We're willing to pay more. Well, you even have like a higher bid cap for that campaign too, where the other campaigns have a lower bid cap with more control. So it is something that you have to focus on, that ad spend in correlation to your total sales, not just your advertising sales. You got to look at the big picture, because you really can prove to Amazon a lot quicker, like, hey, I'm doing pretty well for these conversions, and I'm willing to pay to get those conversions, and it's leading to a good return for both of us. You're happy, you have a happy customer, I'm happy, I'm making money, let's work together. And they reward you for that. But it is something that people do lose sight of because they just want to have a 5% ACoS and they just want to make money off of their advertising sales directly, you know?
If I get a call like that, I usually just break. I'm like, okay, your product's $20. Your average cost per click is $2. So if 100% of the people who clicked on your ad bought your product, your ACoS will be 10%. That's the best you could ever possibly get. I mean, and that's in a perfect world. I'll never go lower than that.
You guys are too nice. I just start laughing.
Yeah.
Well, like, that's not gonna happen. Like,
it's true. It's impossible.
Yeah.
Let's shift gears now. Let's talk about this full funnel. You're talking about taking advantage of the full funnel on Amazon. What do you mean by that?
So over the years of talking to hundreds and hundreds of clients and brands and accounts, I've realized, like, you know, a lot of people come to us and they want to do everything all at once. And they want to bum rush the field and get all the campaign types running day one and see what happens. And I've really had to practice, first of all, meditation and mindfulness to make sure I stay in the moment, but also just really kind of slowing down their thought process. And I explain this in two different ways. The first way is the funnel, where at the bottom of the funnel, you're focusing more on conversion and you're looking for that more immediate return. That's more doing auto and manual campaigns, just sponsored product ads. And once you validate your traffic there and you're getting conversions and seeing good return there, then you move up the funnel slightly. You do more direct targeting, like ASIN targeting. And that's just kind of justifying some of those ASINs you find from your auto targeting campaigns and moving them to direct ASIN targeting through a manual campaign. So you're kind of moving up and you're getting a little broader with your approach of the campaigns that you're using, and you're looking for more brand awareness as you move up the funnel. So the next thing sometimes is category targeting. Got to be completely honest, not the biggest fan because it's very hit or miss, depends on the category and the brand that you're working with, but that moves you kind of out a little more. You're hitting a bigger audience, may not convert as well, but you're building that brand awareness. But then from there, of course, we go to our favorite sponsored brand ads. That's the next level. And you're just graduating terms from the bottom of the funnel upwards that have worked before. So you're taking those keywords from the auto, moving them to the manual campaign. If they work there, you're moving those up to the sponsor brand campaign, doing sponsor brand video. But you're also following your product like data. Which products have converted the best through advertising? Graduate those products up the funnel. Those are the ones that lead to better return. You want to have as much control over your return as possible. You don't just want to advertise everything all the time, every way. That's just a lot of wasted ad spend most of the time. So after sponsor brand video, product targeting, then you go up to everyone's favorite, sponsored display, because we all love sponsored display. There should be some things coming for that soon, just saying. But that's more wider, like it's a wider approach. Doesn't convert as much, we all know that, and it kind of does depend, especially with the sponsored display audience targeting that they have now. But you're moving upwards and getting a wider range of people looking at your products, hoping they fall back into your funnel with the other ads that you're running so they work off of each other. And then even higher, DSP, good old DSP. And then from there, you go outwards to off Amazon as well, like more off Amazon, like Facebook, Instagram, Google, things like that as well. So you're building reverse on the funnel. So you're validating everything upwards. So you're not having anything fall through and not convert over time. So it's, the other way I say it is like building a house. You want to have a strong foundation at the bottom, then you build on top of that, and you get everything sitting on top of each other.
Where do you go? Where do you go on when you? I like that you reverse it. By the way, that's really cool. But match types, broad, phrase, exact. Like when you're pulling them from the auto, that's where some people are like they don't really know, or they want to test out all three, and it just kind of gets really wonky really fast because you can spend a lot of money really fast. What are you doing from that audit? You going straight exact there? Or are you going phrase? What's that setup look like?
We're using a combination of exact and phrase based on the length of the keyword. So if it's a very long tail keyword, we can just go straight to exact. If it's a shorter keyword with just like one or two keywords inside of it, we do phrase. And then we find out the actual variation of that, and we can pull out the search term from that keyword to make it an exact if we need to, if we find a long tail one coming off of that. Saying something controversial, we don't really use broad match. Got to be honest with you, because we kind of rely on our auto campaigns for that reason to help us generate that information. Then we just want to get more control over that. So that's why we get to phrase and exact into the manual campaigns.
Yeah, it's a good point you bring up. I mean, I think for a lot of people listening, the auto, broad, freight, those are research. I mean, you're paying to like test. And until you get it to that exact match, you don't have like full control over that keyword. And I think people miss the boat when they don't find the optimal bid for that exact word. And if you've got like a broad and an exact and they're triggering the same keyword,
Right.
you got your data set split. So you have different cost per clicks on the same keyword. So how do you know what the optimal bid is? So I think you're talking that funnel you're talking about where you're back negating when you move something, into the next one. I think that's so important to get the optimal bid.
Right. And I love that you bring that up about the split impressions. That's what most of my job is cleaning up splits. Like when I come into an account and someone will have 4 different campaigns for one product and it's different match types and then like an ASIN targeting or something. And I'm just like, whoa, you're bidding on the same search terms in theory. So like, how do you know what's actually working? Maybe this one's getting 500 impressions. This one's getting 400. That's 900 total. How are you digging into that? How are you actually seeing what's working from that? So that's why I have just a little bit of OCD when it comes to advertising. So like I clean up and restructure most accounts that I work with just so I can know what's working. And so the client or the seller can know exactly what's converting, what's not working, what needs to be done, what products are actually leading to sales. So the cleanup I think is huge. With the structure of an account, if your structure is not clean and you're not able to follow it, you can't really expect success. Like it all starts at like I'm saying, just like building it up from the ground up and relying on what's worked and graduating that upwards.
I think the client is just looking for the same thing. They've gotten so confused on what this campaign does. I don't remember what this campaign is. They're like, I just need somebody to structure it. I mean, that's probably what they're looking for anyway. You mentioned DSP. That's something we haven't really talked a lot about. But we're seeing display and DSP kind of merge a little bit. They're kind of coming together a little bit more, but they're still fairly different. But Amazon's starting to release more stuff into display. What are you seeing on your end?
So, got to clear the air. Was not a huge fan of sponsored display when it first came out.
Yeah,
when it came from vendor. Was not a huge fan of DSP. But that was mainly because I just knew only Amazon could do it, and they were charging like $30,000 and saying, "Hey, we're gonna try to spend this in 2 months." And my client would be like, "Hey, is that gonna happen?" And I'm like, "Man, I have no idea.
Yeah.
I hope it works out for you, but I'm hands off at this point." But yeah, like for the longest time, before we actually got access to DSP and we started running it ourselves, we would use sponsored display to kind of justify the movement to DSP to make sure at that higher level of the funnel, you actually were able to see some type of return. And to do this, you have to have a really strong brand presence. You have to have a really awesome product and actually make sure you've vetted it fully with other advertising means before you move to that stage. So it is something where I tell people to not rush it and not just jump to sponsored display and then you get upset when it doesn't work. Like work your way up to sponsored display. And if that's actually working well for you, especially with the newer updates coming out that are going to be really making it more like DSP to a sense, it's going to be a little better and easier to get access to. Then you can say, okay, cool, I want to go full DSP and get more control over what I'm showing up for, like website-wise and things of that nature.
I like what you're talking about here. Just work the whole working your way up the funnel is so important. I mean, I think if you're starting out, if you're like an auto campaign and a manual campaign, sponsor product that you optimize is all you need until you've got full validation. I mean, it's. I think so many people have with advertising, especially if you're new and you're starting to look at, you're like, oh my gosh, there's so many things I got to be doing. No, you don't. You're not missing out on anything. You're missing out on the opportunity to waste more money potentially. And so I think if you start smaller like that, it's good. This is a good conversation.
Yeah.
This is fun. I love talking about this stuff.
Yeah, me
It's
too.
fun. I could really do this all day, every day. And I do for the most part.
Yeah.
But it's really hard talking to my fiance about this stuff because she's just like, Edward, you're such a nerd. And I'm like, oh, I enjoy it, you know, like
Yeah, I know. That's why we do the podcast. My wife told me I got to find people to talk to. I was driving her crazy. Well, we have to get you back on. Maybe we'll make it a recurring thing to get, because like we say, it changes all the time. So we need to keep talking to each other about what's going on, learn from each other. I think it's really important. So
I would love to nerd out anytime. And even if it's on the weekend, guys, I will do it on the weekend.
Right.
Like, I'm being honest with you. Like, I love this stuff way too much. I should probably find other hobbies.
Here's a quick question. What are your friends of fame like? What do you do for a living? Do you keep it simple or do you go right into it?
It depends on the surroundings. If I'm at a Thanksgiving dinner and there's lots of people listening, I just say I help Amazon sellers advertise. And they're like, oh, Amazon. And I'm like, well, I didn't say I work for Amazon. I help Amazon sellers.
Right.
That's where the conversation stops. If it's a smaller group, I'm like, yeah, I'm a co-founder of an advertising agency for Amazon sellers. But I still keep it very loose because I realize most people don't really know that there's even like advertising on Amazon for just like the common person out there. So I don't want to make them ask too many questions on their part. Just understand. I just keep it very simple, very, very direct. And that's all I need to do most of the time.
I think we both did the same thing.
It is.
I help people sell on Amazon and we just leave it like that. We just leave it.
Yeah.
It is the best when they're like, you can advertise on Amazon. I'm like,
yeah.
You got an hour?
I'm gonna have a panic attack watching you shop. You're probably close a million ads.
Clicking on everything possible.
Click. Exactly. Funny. Well, tell everyone out there who's listening, how can they get in touch if they want to talk with you? Pick your brain. How can they get in touch?
So honestly, the best place is probably LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn a lot. That's where I get a lot of my new content because I can't keep up with it all myself. I only have 2 ears and 2 eyes to try to keep up with everything. I think sales at sellerlabs.com as well, just to reach out if you're interested in our services or anything. But honestly, just come to me on LinkedIn, ask a question. I can pass you over to the right person if I need to. I'm always down to talk and get you hooked up with someone on our team.
Awesome. Well, I encourage everyone to do that. And Edward, thanks for coming on. We'll have to do this again for sure. We'll be reaching out to you, no doubt.
Okay. Perfect.
And everybody out there, if you like content like this, if you like hearing cool people like Edward talk about PPC or anything else in the Amazon space, make sure you're subscribing to the podcast. If you're watching us live on Solozo's Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube, make sure you subscribe to those as well. You can turn on notifications so you get notified when we go live. You can watch us talk about all this stuff all the time. So make sure that you're doing that. Everybody, thanks for tuning in, and we'll be back at this again next time. See ya. Thanks, Edward.
Thanks, guys.